What's up, YouTube? Back with another video.
The
Z2a0y.
Jefferson County District Court.
Make sure
The
you
arraignment
follow my
hearing is
Twitch.
underway for 18-year-old.
Hmm. I like that. I like that intro. You know, and make sure you follow my YouTube too. Well, subscribe to my YouTube.
Keisha Johnson, who's charged with possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and tampering with physical evidence.
Come on up here, ma'am.
I would like to stand here.
When called upon, Johnson decides to address the
I had
judge,
this quality.
Sean Delahanty, from the back of the court.
No, stand at this podium.
Awesome.
I
Can you
get-
tell me
Oh, ma'am, you have to come up here. We can't record
what
your
laws
back.
you guys
Where
operate?
my chat goes? Where my chat? I'm gonna turn my chat back on. Okay.
the laws of the state of Kentucky.
Oh, yes. As in like amity law, common law, statutory.
Come up here and stand at this podium. I have to get you on the record so that so that we can see you with your argument.
Okay, well, for on the record, I reserve my right before crossing this bench.
Johnson's refusing to cooperate because she's part of a sovereign citizens movement, which rejects institutions and believe they aren't bound by the country's laws.
Well, Mr. Johnson, I really don't want to create some big scene.
Well,
Hang on a second. I do not want to lock you up, but I may very well have to. I need for you to come up here and stand at this podium.
I'll try to sit there. So I
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. You have to come up here and stand at this podium.
As the bizarre scene plays out, there's another disruption in the back of the courtroom when a bailiff tells 36-year-old Jenna Vondran to stop filming on her cell phone.
And don't disrupt no courtroom. Just believe you
In
gonna
Kentucky,
catch
judges
some.
are given broad discretion on allowing filming in
See,
their
they gonna
courtrooms.
kick you out. And if you creating a big distraction, they gonna lock you up, like he said.
Sis,
show me the law.
go ahead and lock her up. Go ahead and take her into custody.
Watch as the judge looks down and presses his panic button to summon additional deputies to the courtroom.
What are you doing? There's no right. You have no right.
You sit over there. Nothing wrong.
You have no right. No right for that.
Yeah, I'm not finished with her yet. All right.
After a quick reset, the original defendant, Keisha Johnson, finally comes forward to the podium.
You're charged with possession of marijuana, tampering with physical evidence, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
I don't understand any of that.
All right. Well, you're charged with illegally possessing marijuana. You are.
While the judge's attention is back with Johnson, deputies in the hallway are still trying to get control of Vondran, the woman with the cell phone.
I don't understand any of those charges.
Well, there's not a whole lot more. There's not,
He's
not a
screaming
whole
for
lot
help?
more I can do to try to explain to you.
Okay,
When trying to play clueless doesn't work, Johnson goes back on the offensive.
let's start here. Can you guys prove jurisdiction? Prove jurisdiction because I come in under common law. Prove your jurisdiction that you have jurisdiction over me. Prove jurisdiction. A court cannot proceed until you guys prove jurisdiction. Show me your jurisdiction. Show me your law.
All right. All of our laws are codified in the Kentucky Revised Statute.
Show me jurisdiction. Show me the law.
Hey, here you go.
Okay, that doesn't prove that you have jurisdiction.
Okay, so what else? Now, there's a simple way for me to prove jurisdiction to you. I'm going to ask the deputy to go ahead and take you into custody.
Under what charges?
Under
what charges?
You are disrupting my court.
Might as well just go ahead and get arrested. Go ahead and get taken into custody.
All right, we're going to pass her case to tomorrow.
You should just listen for real.
It is wrong. Under common law, under the United States Constitution, and if they keep doing this and let us...
Keisha Johnson's arrested and charged with contempt of court. Fast forward to the next day, and she's about to face a new judge.
Keisha Johnson, 56.
This time, Johnson's represented by an attorney.
I don't know how familiar you are with this, but this
I'm
case.
familiar. Podium flipper.
Okay.
I've heard a little bit about it from
Okay.
yesterday. All right, so this is Miss Johnson. We'll note that she's in custody today. She's brought over and present.
And she'd like to make a statement to the court.
I had time to think about it, and I believe and I've learned that I need to represent myself in a respectable manner while in front of the judge.
Okay, so obviously that behavior will not be tolerated. That's why you ended up where you are.
Keisha Johnson's found guilty of contempt of court and is released from jail after serving 1 day. On her original charges, 2 were dropped, but she's found guilty of possession of marijuana, fined $185. As for Jenna
185.
Vondran, who was arrested after filming in the courtroom,
All right. Go ahead and lock her up.
she's found guilty of disorderly conduct and serves 1 day in jail.
7 William Dennis.
For our next story, we head to Kauai County, Hawaii. The defendant is William Dennis, who's in court without a lawyer to face the charge of driving with a suspended license.
Good morning.
All eyes are on Dennis as he approaches. Clad in a blue robe and a headpiece, he immediately addresses the court.
Well, my knowledge of the facts is with this claim of this standing with this microphone.
Sir?
Of the documentation with the
Sir?
What is wrong with his hair?
by
Is that
this
his
peaceful
hair?
hyphen volition.
Dennis has been rambling for more than 10 seconds now, but the judge allows him to continue.
Sir, unless you stand there, you're not being recorded anyway.
For the claimant's knowledge of the fact is with avoidance of the boxes and
What is
claims
wrong
with
with
this
his
closed
hair?
hyphen area hyphen court hyphen room by the unity hyphen consciousness.
Bruh.
Dennis obviously has a thing for hyphens. So the judge attempts to get things back on track with a simple question.
Something happened to him before he came into the courtroom.
Okay.
That's his
What's your
hair?
name?
That is.
For my knowledge of my peaceful hyphen volition is with avoidance of the perjury, with this participation of correct hyphen, sentence hyphen, structure hyphen, communication hyphen, passe hyphen, syntax hyphen, grammar.
If you're counting at home, that is 7 hyphens in just that answer alone. Thankfully, the judge steps in.
Okay, well, we have a lot of folks waiting here, and I would hope that you would be courteous to the other human beings that are in the courtroom today, waiting their turn to be heard. What do other human beings call you?
For my knowledge of the facts,
Perhaps hoping to avoid an extended answer, the prosecutor chimes in.
Your Honor,
Okay.
he is known to the state already as,
William M. Dennis.
Yes, as
The
Mr.
court-
Dennis.
The court will find that I know him from prior occasions.
this is going to be dismissed with prejudice. However, in order for his driver's license to be reinstated, there are reinstatement requirements that he must fulfill at licensing.
Okay, Mr. Dennis, first of all, I'll grant the motion. It will be dismissed with prejudice.
Okay, thank you.
Dismissed with prejudice means the case is permanently over. Done. Finished.
Mr. Dennis, I believe the state is being very patient and tolerant with you. You're free to go.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis.
It seems everyone wants this case over. That is, except for the defendant.
for my knowledge of my peaceful hyphen volition is with this calling of the cooperation
Sir?
with the human
Sir?
hyphen beings of this court hyphen room,
You're being
with the
disrespectful.
creation of
Dennis can't quite see the gift he's been given and throws out a few more hyphens.
Man, if you all just leave,
mind
my boy,
hyphen body hyphen
your hair
human
already
organic
messed up.
hyphen
You
food
need a new
hyphen
haircut.
growing.
Just
Sir,
go
free of the
bald.
cuts with
Please,
the pu-
please have a seat at the front.
with the cuts with
Please.
the
It takes some assistance from the bailiff for Dennis to get the message. But on his way back to the gallery, he gets a few more hyphens in just for good measure.
male hyphen livery by the correct hyphen sentence hyphen structure
Yeah.
hyphen
You could have been
hyphen,
free, my boy.
passe hyphen syntax
Like,
hyphen
why is you still reading that?
Sir, please have a seat in the front row.
Now you're back in the courtroom.
We go to a sentencing hearing in Ann Arbor, Michigan for
Oh,
24-year-old
virtual?
Alex Brown.
Is it virtual?
1 year earlier, Brown pled guilty to driving while intoxicated and was sentenced to a year of probation. As a condition of his probation, Brown agreed not to consume alcohol. But he was caught doing just that on 2 different occasions, including a new DWI charge where his blood alcohol level was 0.16, 2 times the
Yep,
legal
they
limit
gonna
in
always
Michigan.
check you for what you agree for.
Brown was arrested and spent 5 days in jail. before being released on bond. Today, he appears before Judge Cedric Simpson to hear his sentence. The state's requesting that Brown serve 10 additional days in jail, plus probation and court fees. Although guidelines allow for a sentence of up to a year in prison, his attorney, Melissa Kleiman, argues that even 10 days is too severe.
We are asking that you consider a shorter amount of jail time for two reasons. One, he did already serve 5 days. And second, he just will very likely lose his job if he has to serve 10 consecutive days.
Right, except that he's got violations.
He did have a second violation. He does maintain it was an accidental use of alcohol, that it was something that was baked into a dish that his mother had made.
Judge Simpson doesn't seem to be buying that explanation.
If
So you
that's what you want
saying
to come with, then you got to come with that. But I'm going to tell you that I've been doing this a minute. That's not right.
so you saying she poured that alcohol in the food that she made? That ain't nah.
He's just asking the court for
Yeah, that
leniency
ain't
given
what
the
happened.
situation. He's asking for 5 days jail time as opposed to the 10.
Sir, anything you want to say before I impose sentence?
Your Honor, I just want to take responsibility. I know I signed a sheet that said I would not eat or ingest anything with alcohol in it. I know I violated that. I am very sorry, and I apologize for
Twice. You violated.
Yes. Yes.
So we get it clear.
Yes, Your Honor. Very clear. I really want to pay and be able to start paying off all the court fines and everything I owe. If I have to do 10 days consecutively in jail, I'm afraid I might lose my job. I'm making okay money right now, and if I can only do 5 days, I could pay it within the next time I get paid.
This is not a negotiation.
Okay.
I don't know where you got
Man, it's trying to negotiate
Okay,
with him.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I get paid on the 15th. I can at least pay $500 on the 15th, and then set up a
You don't
payment.
have anything today?
I could pay $500 today.
$500 today. The balance is arranged by probation.
Now that Brown's financial commitments with the court are settled, the judge moves on to the subject of jail time.
Here is the cold-hearted reality regarding jail terms. Sir, you decided after having a prior to get on the road and you hit a .16. You come before this court, and unlike a lot of other folks, you violated twice, giving me some excuse.
Twice. The second excuse that was his mom put some alcohol in the food he ate. That's not an excuse. Ain't no way that happened.
Because quite frankly, were it up to me, given what I see in this case, you'd probably be doing the whole year. The defendant is to serve an additional 10 days. You are to report to the Washtenaw County Jail by 6 p.m. today. I will tell you that if you fail to report by 6 p.m. today, a warrant will issue for your arrest. You will be held without bond.
Brown did report to jail later that day and served his additional 10 days. He's currently on probation until May 2024.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Next, we're in Hastings, Minnesota for a child custody hearing. It's the second day of trial, and before official proceedings begin, attorney Michelle McDonald, who's representing the mother in the case, approaches the court reporter. McDonald then allegedly accuses the reporter of inaccurately recording the prior day's testimony. She then announces if the court reporter can't do her job, she'll do it. After returning to her table, she pulls out a camera and takes a photo of the courtroom. McDonald's reason for snapping the photos unclear, but a courtroom deputy takes notice. First, he reminds the attorney that taking photos is prohibited in the district courtroom.
No, take your
Then
photos.
he confiscates her camera. After what appears to be some heated back and forth, things settle down and the hearing proceeds. But 40 minutes later, during a recess, deputies reapproach McDonald, and they've got some bad news for her. She's receiving a contempt citation for taking photos in the courtroom. They escort her out to a holding area to complete the necessary paperwork. But once there, she refuses to cooperate or give any of her personal information, so she's placed in custody. She's then given a treatment typically reserved only for violent offenders. Under arrest and handcuffed to a wheelchair, the attorney is brought back to her table to finish out the hearing after refusing to stand or walk on her own. McDonald, who appears surprisingly calm given her compromising situation, refuses to speak to Judge David Knutson or present for her client. Following the bizarre incident, McDonald filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against Judge Knutson and county personnel, alleging improper treatment while in the courtroom and during her 36-hour detainment following the hearing. The lawsuit was ultimately dismissed, and the tables turned against McDonald. First, she received a 60-day suspension and 2 years probation for, among other things, repeatedly talking over Judge Knutson and for taking photos in the courtroom without approval. The Minnesota Supreme Court would later suspend McDonald's law license indefinitely for falsely impugning the integrity of the judge in the original case, David Knutson. We go to San Diego, California for the arraignment of Titus Colbert. He's charged with 3 counts of premeditated attempted murder against a peace officer and possession of a firearm by a felon.
He tried to kill a
The
police
33-year-old
officer.
alleged gang member had broken into the apartment building of his ex-girlfriend when she called police. When officers arrived, Colbert, armed with multiple weapons, began firing. The standoff lasted 5 hours, forcing authorities to close down the roads and temporarily suspend air traffic at a nearby airport. Fortunately, no one was injured and Colbert was taken into custody.
All that for nothing.
Colbert's looking at a possible sentence of 105 years in prison. But at his arraignment, he appears uninterested in his rights or anything to do with the case.
I will not be subject to criminal abuse.
You have a right to an attorney.
I will not be subject to criminal abuse.
After flashing what appears to be a gang sign, Colbert continues to interrupt the proceedings when he segues into a cryptic history lesson.
May 1st, 1776. May 1st, 1776. May 1st, 1776.
The date Colbert keeps repeating refers to the origins of the Illuminati, a secret society often associated with conspiracy theories.
May 1st, 1776. I stand for a new world order.
The defendant is removed and ordered to return the following week. His attorney pleads not guilty, but as Colbert stands before the judge, he continues his bizarre behavior.
We are the Illuminati!
Yeah.
The judge doesn't seem to appreciate the song and has a different tune for the defendant.
Mr. Colbert, you get one shot at listening to me to keep your mouth shut or you're out of here. Do you understand?
After a slight pause, Colbert answers.
We are the Illuminati!
By now, the judge has heard enough, and Colbert's removed from the court. He's forced to undergo a number of psychiatric evaluations.
I travel in and out of time zones, and I am a special human being, and I'm protected.
And is finally ruled competent to stand trial. But nearly 2.5 years after the incident, Colbert changes his plea from not guilty to guilty. In exchange for the guilty plea, prosecutors dismissed 4 counts of attempted murder of a peace officer and various firearms crimes. He's sentenced to 20 years in a state prison. We're in Waukesha, Wisconsin for the case against 39-year-old Darrell Brooks. Brooks has been charged with 6 counts of intentional homicide, 61 counts of recklessly endangering safety with a dangerous weapon, and a number of other charges. A
What?
year
What is
earlier, police
what?
say Brooks met up with his
How
ex-girlfriend
dangerous
and
you
they had
been
an argument.
driving?
Brooks then drove his mother's car into a crowd of people during the Waukesha Christmas parade. 6 people between the ages of 8 and 81 were killed. Over
What?
60 were injured.
Man, R.I.P.
Brooks
But
fled the scene on
bro,
foot,
what?
but showed up a short time later on the front steps of a stranger's home less than a mile away. A doorbell camera captured Brooks pleading to use the owner's telephone.
Hey, I called an Uber, and I'm supposed to be waiting for it over here, but I don't know when it's coming. Can you call it for me,
That sound
please?
like Lou Ratchet.
Police who'd been patrolling the area spotted
That
Brooks,
sound like
who
Lou
fit
Ratchet
the
a little
description
bit.
of the suspect, and he was taken into custody.
But 61,000. What is a regular driver?
When police interviewed Brooks, he claimed not to know why he was there.
Tell me what happened. With what? With the car. What am I being with your mom's car?
Brooks was charged with 75 felonies and 1 misdemeanor. He considered a number of pleas, including not guilty by reason of mental defect, before ultimately deciding to plead not guilty. Today, at a pretrial hearing, Brooks falls asleep during testimony, which gets the attention of the
And man,
prosecutor.
go to sleep.
Observed that for about the past 40 minutes, Mr. Brooks appears to be asleep in the courtroom. I don't know if he's just being disrespectful, uninterested, or if he's not feeling well.
After a brief recess, Brooks becomes irate when Judge Jennifer Doro reminds him that the proceedings are being recorded.
You got something to say too?
Mr. Brooks, the live stream is on.
I don't care about no live stream. Just like y'all don't care. All this political.
Mr.
You
Brooks,
sit
look
up here and act like you know me. People like you don't. Y'all
Mr.
people don't
Brooks.
know nothing about where I come from.
Mr.
You
Brooks.
push me, dog. Don't push back then.
Mr. Brooks.
Don't push back. Push me again. You wanna
Mr.
push
Brooks,
me?
we have to continue with this hearing.
Don't put your hand on me, dude.
Nobody put their hands on you.
They better not put their hand on me. Don't touch me, dog. Stay seated.
5 weeks later, when the case went to trial, Brooks decided to act as his own lawyer,
I just want this to be fair, and it hasn't been fair.
all while continuing his bad behavior.
And it's disrespectful to me that you think I would come in here purposely and treat this like a joke or a game. Your life is not on the line. Mine is.
The judge moved him out of the main courtroom
Man,
and into an
the way you
adjacent
acting,
one
bro.
to argue his case remotely.
We are back on the record.
But the antics continued as Brooks removed his clothes and turned his back to the camera. And later built himself a miniature fort using cardboard boxes. The trial lasted 3 weeks, and when both sides came to rest, it took the jury less than 3 hours to return with a verdict. Guilty on all 76 charges, including 6 counts of intentional homicide.
Oh, 76 charges.
Before Brooks
though.
is sentenced, several family members deliver impact statements to the court.
It offends me that you're sitting here breathing while she is not. You are a monster. You deserve contempt and death. As for me, this will never be over until the day I'm pissing on your grave. I think it would be fair to say that for your crimes, even God hates you.
Mr. Brooks, I hope as I read my statement, you continue to roll your eyes. I think it's important for the world to see what human rot looks like. Yeah, shake your head. There's nothing this court can do that would provide justice in my eyes. So all I ask is that you rot, and you rot slow.
Judge Doro sentenced Brooks to life in prison with no chance for parole.
I deserve.
Next, we head to Ocala, Florida for a bond hearing. Judge James McCune presiding. 47-year-old James Gross has been charged with trespass after warning, a misdemeanor. A day earlier, Gross was allegedly trespassing outside a gas station when police were called. He'd already been warned about trespassing at this location, so he was arrested. Gross has a lengthy criminal record and is currently out on bond for DUI.
James Cross,
Today, he makes his first appearance before Judge McCune, dressed in what appears to be a black robe.
All right, good morning, sir. Your name, please?
James Gross.
Oh, no, you've been on bond since 28th of May. Plus, you've got some prior convictions. I'll set no bond on this. That'll keep you in custody for your next court date. Now, would you like to be considered for the pet offender, sir?
No, sir.
What about your DUI case? Do you have a pet offender in that case?
Yes, we're working on it.
Okay, do you think you should get an attorney for this case then, too, the trespass case?
Yeah, I would be the same man, I'm sure.
Would you like to be considered for the public defender, sir?
No, thank you.
Okay. Do you want to represent yourself today on the trespass case?
Don't want to do what?
Represent yourself?
Sure.
It seems the judge is starting to get frustrated.
Is that a yes?
Yeah, I'd like to tell you the story. I mean, it's not going to be one you like. It's essentially no contest, but I mean...
Okay, just
I believe it's
stop.
gonna be...
Stop. You want to represent yourself, yes or no?
Sure.
Is that a yes or no?
I do, but I think it'd be probably smarter to get the lawyer.
The judge moves on to the next topic.
Do you have a job?
No, I'm self-employed. We got money.
Well, how much money do you have?
You want to know how much cash I have?
Yes.
I have about $60,000.
Okay. Where's that cash right now?
It's in my sister's bank account.
Okay. Do you own any property?
Yes, I own a home.
All right. I don't know what sense to make out of this. You've got $60,000 sitting in your sister's account. Why is it in your sister's account?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I believe I'm on a mission, and I believe I'm gonna be your next prophet.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and enter a provisional order, appoint the pet to represent you. I'll not get any plea on your behalf as to this charge. Thank you.
Gross is taken into custody and eventually enters a plea of not guilty. He was later released on his own recognizance, and his trial is pending. Next, we're in Topeka, Kansas for a Supreme Court disciplinary hearing for attorney Dennis Hauver. The defense lawyers at the High Court a year after a state review panel called for his disbarment, citing, among other things, professional incompetence in his handling of a capital murder case. Laying out the details of the panel's findings is the deputy disciplinary administrator for the courts. He claims Hauver had no business taking on a capital murder case to begin with.
Respondent only experience in a murder case was some 20 years prior to that. That was not a capital case. He really had no idea of the law of capital murder, the capital murder trial proceedings.
And what is your recommendation for what we should do today?
My recommendation is that you approve the discipline of disbarment.
With serious allegations leveled against him, and with his law license on the line, it is imperative for Hauver to present a professional rebuttal to the Supreme Court.
I appear before you today dressed as Thomas Jefferson, who's my hero among the founders.
That's right, donning a powdered wig, an 18th century suit, and white stockings, Dennis Hauver will now argue his professional competency in the state's top court.
I wore this outfit because today the United States Constitution protects my rights to try the case as my client and I agreed.
The case in question was the capital murder trial of Philip Cheatham. The 30-year-old was charged with shooting 2 women to death and attempting to kill another during a home invasion. Cheatham had a long criminal history, including previous
almost 3 counts of murder
for shooting and killing a man during a drug deal. Most defense attorneys would not want to introduce that history at trial, but clearly Hauver is not most lawyers.
My client was a criminal for a living.
While possibly an unorthodox defense strategy, Hoover claims it was not incompetent.
Don't forget, Philip Cheatham didn't complain about my performance or conduct. You did.
The jury ultimately found Philip Cheatham guilty of the murders and sentenced him to death. Following the hearing, the Kansas Supreme Court upheld the state panel's findings and disbarred Kenneth Hoover for what they called, quote, inexplicable incompetence.
Not more
As for
minutes
Philip
though.
Cheatham, the defendant in the capital murder case, he was granted a new trial due to ineffective assistance of counsel. He ultimately pleaded no contest to the murders in exchange for having the death penalty dropped. He was resentenced to life in prison with eligibility for parole after 25 years for the capital murder charge and received a consecutive 13-year, 9-month sentence for attempted murder. This is the arraignment of 20-year-old Spencer Allen Boston. At a traffic stop 2 months earlier, Boston received citations for
possession of
speeding and
marijuana.
simple possession of marijuana. As he walks up to the podium, Judge Haywood Barry's informed that Boston has a special request.
I spoke with Mr. Boston. He said he wants to represent himself in this case. I told him today was just an arraignment. It's either guilty, not guilty type day. To which he responded, I just want to plead my case to the court. So he didn't want to talk to me after that, so that's why he was started talking, son.
Yes, sir. I think it's very unfair, the marijuana law here. I think we the people deserve better because marijuana is a very harmless drug, and it's been around for ages, since the 80s and 90s.
I've heard that baloney all my life, so don't go any further on that.
Yes, sir.
I don't know whether it's good or bad. All I know is Tennessee still has it against the law. I swore to uphold the laws, and I have to uphold the laws as a judge. It probably is unfair, but I can't change it. You've got to go see the legislature to get that change.
Yes, sir.
And if you get it changed...
Judge Barry quickly returns to the matter at hand.
Now, if you want to plead guilty, you can today. But if you want a trial, we can give you a trial on the officer's date, which it's Officer Vincent.
Officer Vincent?
You want to fix trial date?
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be fun, and then you make another speech.
As the judge works with court employees to schedule a trial date,
May 7th.
Boston decides to take action as he pulls out what appears to be a joint. No one seems to notice until, shockingly, he lights up. And this time it's noticed immediately.
Hey! We the people deserve better.
Boston may have finally pleaded his case.
Hey! We the people deserve better.
But he's immediately taken away by the court officer. And Judge Barry gets the final word.
No. Man's really tweaking.
Slapping Boston with a disorderly conduct charge, as well as another
Ooh,
charge of possession. The judge also holds him in contempt of court, and Boston
Speeding.
is forced to spend 10 days in jail. The joint was collected as evidence. Next, we're in Miami, Florida for a bond hearing. And wait till you get a load of this defendant. This is 29-year-old Lawrence Sullivan, a.k.a. the Miami Joker.
Miami
Florida
Joker?
native and a
I thought the Joker was only a
self-proclaimed
DC.
tattoo model.
All right, good morning, Mr. Sullivan.
Sullivan's appearance
Well,
doesn't go so
Gotham.
much as a second look from Judge Maria Espinoza
Gotham.
Dennis.
I mean Gotham.
But remember, this is South Florida, and this is no laughing matter. Still, he may be thinking, Judge, why so serious? Well, here's the answer.
Okay, you're charged with carrying concealed firearm, which, if convicted, has some serious consequences.
Sullivan's accused of pointing a handgun at passing traffic and was later arrested carrying a concealed .38 caliber pistol.
Man's really
Now
think
in
he
custody,
Joker though.
he's declining service from the public defender.
You don't want the public defender's office to represent you?
I mean, you can represent me, but I'm trying to get bonded out, my honor.
Well, they're there to help you, sir. You don't have a lawyer.
All right.
I mean, okay, so...
I didn't even feel like signing the paperwork. I'm really not in the mood for that.
Sullivan's asking for a pretrial release, but Judge Espinoza Dennis, who could be considered the Dark Knight in her black robe, isn't going to let him out so easily.
Nope.
On a firearms
This time you get
charge,
got.
I'm not going to do pretrial. Setting
Okay.
standard bond, $5,000.
Okay, I like that reference. I like that
Next
reference.
case,
Lawrence Sullivan was later found guilty of carrying a concealed firearm and sentenced to 2 years probation.
Batman
maybe
caught you.
proving the old adage that crime doesn't pay. Next, we head to Atlanta, Georgia, for the sentencing of Tex McIver. The 75-year-old attorney was found guilty of felony murder in the death of his wife, Diane McIver. The defendant claimed he accidentally shot McIver while driving back from their horse farm. Diane McIver was the president of an airport service company, and prosecutors believe she was killed for her money. McIver pled not guilty, but after a trial lasting 19 days, he was convicted. Before sentencing, friends of the victim make heartfelt statements to a packed courtroom.
The actions have traumatized me. I lost sleep because I so wanted to believe that it was an accident.
This has been one of the saddest and most horrific incidents that's happened in my life. To have lost my friend of over 40 years that was more like a sister than a friend has broken my heart.
Next, it was McIver's turn to speak, which is what he did for 15 bizarre minutes, touching on just about everything. Everything, that is, except the crime.
Last week, on one given day, I received 11 different pieces of mail. One is a lady from Ireland. Then there is the most unique individual I think I've ever corresponded with. His name is Trent Jones. He's a racehorse jockey in Perth, Australia. His favorite racehorse, Hobart, has been retired just this year. And then now he and Hobart are free to step into the surf in Perth and play.
The surreal statement continues as McIver moves on to his next subject, thanking his friends in the community.
Friends delivering Chick-fil-A, one of my huge favorites, one of the things I miss the most, I guess.
Before he was done, he hit one more subject completely unrelated to the murder, his godson's favorite basketball team.
He's a huge fan of the Golden State Warriors. Instead of anything, I had to say go Warriors before this statement was over with.
Finally, he gets around to discussing the relationship with his late wife of 11 years.
The luckiest day of my life was when Diane chose me. In doing so, we started a relationship that was can only be described as amazing. We loved each other like small children. We just couldn't believe it was that good.
He goes on to explain just how deep their connection was.
In fact, it became, if people are able to believe it, telepathic. And my conscience would hear these words, is this truly real? She had telepathically communicated those words. Is this truly real? It is truly real. It is truly real.
Before announcing his sentence, Judge Robert McBurney offers a reaction to McIver's words and peculiar choice of subject matter.
I'll tell you what's most telling. You had as much time as you wanted to share with me what you thought was important for me to hear, and we heard about racehorses in Australia, and Chick-fil-A, and telepathy. I didn't ever hear you say you're sorry for what you did. To me, that silence speaks volumes.
All that was left was the sentence.
The penalty for felony murder is life. I'm going to sentence you, count 2, to a term of life with the possibility of parole.
McIver was sentenced to life in prison and is eligible for parole after 30 years when he would be 105 years old. Thanks for being a fan of Court Cam. Subscribe to A&E.
Dang. Oh, and Deserved. They all got what they got.